Oh, there he is. No. Ready? Okay. I'd like to call to order the Rock Valley Community College District 511 Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. Roll call.
Nelson. Simpson.
Yes, here.
Trojan here. Goldsmith. Kadia.
Yes, here.
Blake.
Here.
Soltow. And Gorski.
I'm here. I believe that constitutes a quorum. I don't believe we have anybody joining remotely. We do expect both trustees, Nelson and Soltow, to arrive, and when they do, please just note their time of arrival. Yep. All right. Recognition of visitors. Oh, first of all, communications and public comment. I received through President Spearman a letter from Total Energies and another one from the Winnebago County Board of Assessments, and I forwarded back to him with the note, please forward to appropriate staff. That's the communications that I have. Any other communications or petitions?
I don't know. No other communications or petitions.
618. 518.
Okay. All right. Recognition of visitors?
We do have 2 visitors. However, we'll be able to introduce them during the general presentation.
Very good. Okay. You have a copy of the minutes of Committee of the Whole from December 2nd, 2025. We'll take an action to approve those at the next meeting.
I have a question.
You have a question?
There was a notation in there that Trustee Nelson was supposed to supply some additional comments. Did he, in fact, supply any additional comments?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions on those minutes? Hearing none, we'll go to general presentations. G, fiscal year 2025 financial audit report.
Good evening.
No. No.
You can take mine. Nobody wants to listen to me.
Use one of the cordless mics.
Okay.
Good evening. This evening, we are presenting to you the FY25 financial audit, which includes the annual comprehensive financial report, single audit, auditor's communication to the board, and the Illinois Grant Accountability and Transparency Act consolidated financial report. At your places, you should have copies of these documents as well. They were emailed out to you on Friday with a presentation from Lindsay Fish with Sickage sharing pertinent information. I would like to express my appreciation to financial services and in particular to accounting services for the work they do during the year, an additional effort to close out the fiscal year and to provide the information required for these audit reports. I also wish to thank Print Services, Nathan, for his extra effort to print and bind all of the copies we have used for distribution. I would like now to introduce Lindsay Fish, principal with Sickage, who is here this evening to share some additional comments and address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still not working.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
As Ellen indicated, my name is Lindsay Fish. I was the audit principal for the college for your annual audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. My comments tonight will focus primarily on your annual comprehensive financial report, or your ACFR. And then, as Ellen indicated, there was a recorded presentation that was distributed to the board as well. So that was about a 20-minute presentation for you to listen to. I've got a pop quiz at the end to see if everyone watched that all the way to the end.
Could you slow down the pace of your speech? I mean,
sure.
Kind of hard to grab your words.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, she's just trying to keep up with her colleague who's not here, who does keep moving
Like Spanish to me.
Right through it.
Yeah, us accountants and auditors, we speak
fast.
very quickly, but I will slow down. I apologize. So I just wanted to mention that there was a recorded presentation that was provided to the board members, so that was about 20 minutes long. My presentation
Wait.
So what did you do?
I want to make sure that actually worked.
Did that work? Click. So we had audio at the beginning, right? Okay.
And then you were messing with the cables back there,
Well, I just,
and it cut out.
the only cable I messed with is the cable to the main. And it's back.
on the end of month statement reconciliation, is there a reason for that?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And I'm not brilliant or anything like this. Actually, President Spearman pointed these things out to me just a couple hours ago, so thank you very much.
Well, there's a couple things. The largest one that I'm seeing that is occurring with my staff, and we're got to work on documenting it a little bit better, is that they'll do the reconciliation, and then they'll have, I'm going to call reconciling items, and they like to try to clear them, so it'll take them longer to clear them, and then they'll go back and update the reconciliation. So the auditors do not realize that it was reconciled initially, and then they re-reconciled it, clearing the outstanding items.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I just have a quick comment. You mentioned about some corrective action plans, but that they have been addressed. I can't imagine that Ellen needed correction on anything, so, but could, so I was just curious about what, maybe a couple of examples. I guess I just kind of,
Sure. So
The payroll one is yeah.
So the ones that she's talking about are in the single audit report. So that's specifically for our student financial aid, that specific program testing that we did. So there were two findings, one related to, I believe it was work study. There was missing an approval on a time card, and the other one related to late return of Title IV. So if you have the single audit in front of you, it does have a lot more details than that included with what's in that finding. And then after that is the corrective action plans that are on letterhead that describes what the finding is and what the plan is to address those findings, or was, since they were already put in place.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good report.
Thank you. That's it. Next up, I'd like to preface this one. So DKA is our architect for downtown. I learned about some questions that they had on some of the billing for it, and I encouraged Dr. Spearman to reach out to them and invite them here to speak to the issue. Okay?
Yes, thank you. I'm just here to introduce Dominic DeMonica. He is owner and architect for DKA and would like to present to the board this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks. And I'm going to start by thanking the board for providing the opportunity to review, from our perspective, some potential adjustments to our fees as it relates to the project and some of the things that have happened over the course of the development of the project. So hopefully you all have the document in front of you here. When we developed the contract initially, we negotiated that with Mr. Jenks and Mr. Gardner. And at the time we negotiate a contract at the early stages, we really don't know the scope of the project other than some high-level issues such as the size and or cost of the project, some of the programmatic needs, but that's pretty much the extent of it. So as part of our contract and part of the agreement, there was a document that is incorporated as an exhibit, and that's what's on the screen now. And this lays out the project assumptions that our fee was based on. It assumes that the project size would be approximately 80,000 square feet in terms of overall square footage. The actual building size is approximately 110,000 square feet. So we designed approximately 30,000 square feet more building for the college from when the initial agreement was established. Down at the bottom, you'll also see in terms of the cost, we had assumed that the cost was going to be somewhere in the $450 to $500 per square foot. We used $475 times 80,000 square feet. So there was an estimation of $38 million, including all of the building construction and the site work. The actual low bids, when they came in, ended up at $44,680,000, so approximately $6.7 million more in terms of the cost of the project. Also, as part of this document, there were some additional services that we negotiated up front. So all of that I just reviewed, that's for what's called the basic services for the design of the project. Then there's some additional services that go beyond the standard basic services. And so when we looked at everything and worked through a negotiation, we had estimated $3 million at that time using the 7% times the anticipated cost of the project plus the additional services. So that's the $3 million, and it was an estimate that was established in the original contract. The document that I just reviewed with you is officially incorporated into the agreement per Article 2.1. You can see I highlighted that section that shows that as part of the contract. And furthermore, in the contract, it states that the owner and the architect shall rely on that information and those original assumptions, and that both parties recognize that such information may materially change, and in that event, the owner or the architect shall, by subsequent written agreement, adjust the schedule, the services, and the architect's compensation. The compensation portion of the agreement, the way it's established in writing, at the very top here, Article 11.1 states that the compensation, including basic services, additional services, and so forth, in this agreement shall not exceed $3 million, which is the estimate that we had in the original document, unless otherwise approved by the Board of Trustees in an open meeting, which is what brings me here this evening. In that same article, in the same paragraph, it states that the basic services shall be based on a percentage basis. It states that the percentage shall be 7% times the cost of the work as calculated in accordance with 6.1. Article 6.1 shows the calculation that we negotiated with the college and the college's attorney on how to develop that cost of the work. It's the average of all the bids that were received for each bid package, and using the contractor's estimate, construction manager's estimate, as one of those numbers upon which we were basing the average. So throughout the duration of the project, your construction manager, Ringland Johnson, developed a series of cost estimates. As they developed the cost estimates, that you can see at the top of the page that's on the screen, there's quite a bit of detail that was identified for the architectural and general trades, and everything below are all of the MEP trades, which represent somewhere between 35 and 40% of the project cost. There are no details for us to review. There was nothing for us to look at in terms of backup, and we expressed those concerns to the college on numerous occasions that it was difficult for us to evaluate these estimates without that detail. The last estimate that we received from Ringland Johnson, your construction manager, was dated September 13th, and it indicated at that time that we were about $1.3 million over the project budget. There was about $4 million in change built into contingency, working through things with the college. We were told, let's move forward with that approach. As you all know, the costs came in significantly higher than the cost estimates that were provided. And during your March 25 board meeting, regular board meeting, the board approved the project or increased the project budget by a little over $5.8 million to accommodate the cost overruns on the bids that were received versus what the estimate had shown. Within less than 2 weeks, we then took that information and what the board had approved, and we ran through the calculations based on the language in the agreement in terms of using the average for each of the trade packages. And as we developed that, we had identified a fee increase from $3 million to $3,558,159. So an increase to the fee of a little over $500,000. We sent that information off to the college at that time, again, less than 2 weeks after the board had approved the bids. We were asked at that time to sit tight, and that was 9 months ago. So back in April of last year, we submitted that to the college. We were asked to wait until 2 more bid packages were received. One was for landscaping, one was for the vehicle lifts. That information now has been reconciled, and again, that brings me here again this evening. And in that time frame, during those 9 months, while we were waiting to get this issue addressed, we have worked diligently on the college's behalf. This slide shows a little over $200,000 that through our diligence and our work with your construction manager, we have negotiated change order costs down by over $200,000 from what was originally submitted. So that's us working with Ringel & Johnson and bringing those costs down and holding the trade contractors to task. So all that being said, the bottom line is, in terms of our interpretation of the contract language and using the calculations that were identified and understanding that the scope has changed materially from what the original contract was based on, we believe we're entitled to an additional $558,000. Now, again, that was based on a calculation that we worked on together with the college and the college's attorney, utilizing that average of bids. If we were to simply base the fee on the low bids and not use the average, we believe we would be entitled to $333,000. What we are proposing, and in the spirit of collaboration and compromise, is we take those two figures and we meet in the middle and look at a total cost or a total additional fee increase of $445,875. And the last slide I have up in here is just a reconciliation so you all can see from a very transparent way where our dollars are going. You can see at the very top, as of November 22nd, when we started putting this information together, our team, DKA, just the architectural side, had spent 10,841 hours on this project. Using a blended rate of $170 an hour, some people bill out at $280, some people bill out as low as $97, and that blended rate was at $170. We have spent $1.8 million as the architect. We have committed fees to our consultants for all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology, fire protection, civil, landscape, food service design work, and those consultant fees that are committed are $1,444,000. When we just add that together, we're at $286,000 more than the $3 million that's in the agreement. That was as of November of 2025. At that point, we still have 9 more months of work to do on this project. So we've extrapolated out 9 months times 4 weeks times 30 hours per week, which is about what we've been spending through construction, using the $170 an hour. That's another $183,000. When we add those two together, we would come up with a request for an increase in our fee of $470,570, which is more than what we're proposing by compromising between the two calculations of $445,000. So that's what I have to show. There's a lot of moving parts and things have been moving very quickly. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, I appreciate your consideration.
I asked the board members if they have any questions. It'd be a matter of clarification and not a legal question necessarily, or one to Matt Gardner, but in anticipation of that. So what, in the project specs, what do you see as in the scope of the project, what material changed from the time that the agreement was made and then going forward?
Well, we ended up designing 30,000 square feet more building, essentially, and which has a price tag of about $6.7 million associated with it. And I will say, we design more building because every time we design something, your construction manager says we were on target and we were on budget. And we kept moving forward with that. Now, as we all know, when the bids came in, they were over budget. And so we continue down that path, and we have the ability to rely on that information for the contract. We have the ability to rely on the accuracy of that. We did express some concerns about I'll say the lack of detail in some of the major trades, and some of those major trades are the ones that were significantly over budget, I will point out.
I appreciate that. We're still in a fact-finding mode, and I appreciate that. We're not going to punt anything back to you, and just don't punt anything back to Ringland. Everybody will have their, if we need to, we'll all get them in a mosh pit, and we'll all talk about it at the same time. But I don't have any other questions. We're going to, I think, if nobody else does, we're going to just take it under advisement, and we still need to collect some more information, but I do appreciate it. Did you have anything else to add? I gave you 15 minutes or maybe more, so you can have more time.
No,
so. And John's not here to drag it out, so.
I know, I was trying to talk fast, actually. I just want to say, I do appreciate the board's consideration. You know, over 85% of our work on an annual basis is with community colleges throughout the state of Illinois. We want to be fair with our clients, and we want our clients to be fair with us as we kind of look at what needs to be done. The contract is always very difficult because we establish things early on when there's so many questions that still need to be answered. Those questions were ultimately answered, and it ended up being more work and more effort on our part.
And I thank you for coming in for a specific ask, which again would take us through the end of this project, correct?
That would take us through the end of the project. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Questions? Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Teaching and learning, communications discussion. I'll take that over and then hand it right over to Dr. Amanda Smith. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm here this evening to bring before you two matters of the academic calendar. One is a revision for the academic calendar of 2026-2027. Basically, it's a revision for the summer session. It revises the end date from July 30th to August 4th, so our students have 2 additional days of learning. That is the only change to that. Then the second matter I bring before you is the academic calendar for 2027-2028 that has been reviewed extensively within our academic council, and we have considered all of the holidays and the finals and everything to make sure that we have the required number of days and weeks to account for the different modalities and term sizes, and everything should be good to go. So we respectfully request that you would approve both the revision for 2026-27 and the creation of the new academic calendar for 2027-2028.
Questions starting with Crystal. None? Blake? Zayed?
You know I do. Just a quick one. Would you refresh my memory on when commencement exercises will be this year?
Yes, so this coming year, they will be on May 14th, which is a Friday.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Trustee Trojan? Oh, sorry, Glory. Do you have any other?
No, I just said thank you.
On your 2027 calendar,
Yes.
your May 14th says Friday and your May 16th says Sunday. I think it's the 15th and the 17th for 2027.
Do you know, I reviewed this 1,000 times, and so I'm probably turning bright red right now.
And frankly, I don't know why it popped out to me, but it just, of all the things that...
I'm very impressed if it did, so
1,000
let me review
times?
that again. At least.
If you had used AI, it would have been wrong the first time.
Right,
Okay, thank you very much.
So that was in the 27, 28?
Yeah, 27.
Okay.
2027 spring semester. Friday and the Sunday of 14th and 16th. Should be 15 and 17.
Trustee Simpson, questions? So my question is, and why did we add 2 days?
Because it ended on a Friday, but then we didn't have finals until Wednesday and Thursday. And so in order to kind of keep it going for the term one during the summer session, we wanted to just throw in those 2 additional days of learning so that our students didn't have that break and have the opportunity to kind of lose some of the information they had been gaining.
Okay, and this doesn't affect any bargaining unit agreements or anything like that? It all fits within the agreements?
Correct.
All right. I don't think you'll have a problem getting it passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. The agreement before you is taking a different forum this time. It's typically a verbal agreement we've always had between Hononegah and Rock Valley College for these types of classes. So this arrangement was normally conducted through a verbal agreement between Hononegah and Rock Valley College. Hononegah asked for a written agreement and for us to pay an hourly facility rental fee per course hour for residential home repair classes. These home repair classes consist of a drywall class for 9 hours, an electrical class for 4 hours, and a plumbing class for 4 hours. The agreement would have just gone to the president for signature, as obtains with other agreements we have of this nature, but because Hononegah took it to their board for approval, we are bringing it to you for also approval.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to note for the minutes, I was remiss in not announcing that Bob Trojan is acting recording secretary in Jenna Goldsmith's absence. So.
It's working now? Sound good? Good? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just want to note that the online transcribing of the online, they could not hear until just now, and Jeremy fixed it, so we want to appreciate Jeremy for fixing it, but if you hear anything, if you hear any...
Does that affect the official recording of the, or is that the only recording we don't need it recorded?
No.
We have the minutes, so we're good? Okay.
No,
all
we
right.
still have the minutes. We'll still
right.
create the minutes.
All right, thank you. You hear me now? Yes, we hear you now.
Okay.
No?
I didn't think so. I can't hear. It doesn't sound like she's coming through. But.
Okay.
I think you're coming through, it just maybe the volume needs to go up. Now not.
Can't hear you.
Yes.
So you still use the remote?
Yeah, let's hand her the
Remote
remote.
just in case.
I've got batteries in the car.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go with this one. First item I have for you is the enrollment update, which has changed since you received your packet. Since you received your packet, we've wrapped up with Winterim and started the spring semester. So Winterim ended 8% ahead of budget and 1% ahead of the stretch goal. As of Monday, which was the first week of classes, yesterday started, we were 3% ahead of budget and 99% to the stretch goal. This will continue to fluctuate until our official enrollment reporting date, which is January 27th. And then if you take all the semesters combined thus far, as of Monday, we were 5% ahead of budget and 1% ahead of the stretch goal. Are there any questions?
Questions? Starting with Kristen? No. Bob?
No.
Gloria?
Thank you.
Do you expect the spring to pick up to be more equal to the fall?
I think not. I don't think it'll ever be equal to the fall, but we keep trying to retain as many students as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also have the lobbyist update, so I'll just keep going.
Sure.
I have 3 items pertaining to the lobbyist update. First, trustees received the 2026 state-level lobbying and advocacy strategy for Rock Valley College, prepared by Dr. Letisa Wallace via email from Ann Kerwitz. The priorities include advancing the community college baccalaureate and state budgetary matters as they pertain to RVC. Second, I would like to thank the trustees who attended the RVC legislative breakfast on Wednesday, December 17th. I would also like to publicly thank the other elected officials in attendance, including Representative Joe Sosnowski, Senator Steve Stadelman, Senator Dave Severson, and Representative Maurice West. This was a great opportunity for us to share our gratitude for the support we receive from legislators and remind them of our priorities, including capital projects such as Downtown West. Legislators also shared their views related to higher education legislation. Finally, the RVC administration would like to extend its contract with Dr. Wallace and Light Strategies. The current contract began October 8th of 2025 and ends on January 31st of 2026. We would like to renew the contract for February 1st through December 31st of 2026. If trustees are agreeable, we will bring the new contract to the January regular board meeting for their consideration.
Questions? I have a question. So what, and just Dr. Wallace is a friend of mine, but doesn't preclude me from grilling her too. So what value has Dr. Wallace and her group brought to us?
So far, she's been able to strategize with us in organizing the legislative breakfast, also providing us with regular updates from Springfield. And she's also invited Dr. Spearman, and we'll have him, is that in February?
Yes, have different engagement activities laid out in February. So we discussed strategies beyond January, but January came up very quickly. So we have various engagement activities all the way through, and we talked about this as a board.
Right.
But now we just had a break, and now it's January, and we're at this point where we want to extend it. And if so, we would like to extend it for the duration of the calendar year.
So in the short term, we've had her on kind of a temporary contract. You feel she's added value?
Yes, she's added value based on her contract so far.
And you've been satisfied with her demeanor and her professionalism, with representing, the interests of the colleges and downstate and everything?
Yes, and the board had an opportunity to engage with her during the legislative breakfast, and I would welcome their input if they think differently or
the only reason why I ask is because it doesn't really help to have a lobbyist that alienates people, and so I really want to make sure that, he's got a good, positive, opinion and from what I hear downstate, they have a positive opinion of Dr. Wallace. So, Bob.
I'd like to see the extension of the contract tied into winning a contract for us, winning some money for us. I mean, that would be the...
Well, we have to ask her to kind of help her target what money to go after too, right?
Yes. Regarding grant dollars, we're pretty good with our relationships with the legislators that will help us regarding that. So we don't necessarily use her to write any grants. She may lobby for us.
No, not writing. I mean, winning, somehow
Right.
twisting somebody's arm to get the money to us.
Persuading diplomatically. We don't want to infer any. Okay.
I don't care, persuading or using the ball bat, whatever.
I think as long as she
That's inappropriate.
As long as she is making sure that the college is before our legislators in the right spaces, then she's doing what she needs to do for us to be considered for these additional dollars.
You don't need to fill in for Trustee Nelson's colloquialisms anymore. He's here.
He's here. I got him.
He can be rude himself. Okay.
The real deal.
Okay, we're about ready to go into closed session, sir.
I'll just make a comment about first impressions. I thought she was very warm and friendly and confident,
Yeah.
and it was a good impression for me.
Yeah,
so.
she was
Great.
friendly.
That's great.
I liked her hat.
Did you?
Very nice.
She does dress very stylish.
I'm a hat person, so.
Well, you dress very well.
So how often will we have these breakfast meetings? Once a year or twice a year, or?
We'll probably have another one in the spring before, what's the April?
Like, typically, before they go back into
Yes,
session,
before they
we
go back into
want to
session.
have one.
So at least twice a year.
Okay,
we're
thank you.
looking at.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finance discussion, board liaison, trustee Kadia.
Well, I'll turn it over to Ms. Olson. Thank you, Heather.
All right, I just want to make sure you all can hear me. Is this good?
Yeah, and I just want to qualify for future purchase reports. I want you to qualify whether people just want the stuff or if they really need it.
Okay. I'll see what I can do on that.
I mean, that just speaks to the auditor going to be asking new questions next year. Right? When she was coming downstairs with us, she said, oh, we're going to be interviewing fewer people next year. I said, well, then I'm really going to ask hard questions. So there.
Yeah. All right, so we have purchase report A, which is the FY26 amendments. Our first item is Mike Harris Mason Contractor. It's an increase of $40,000, not to exceed $297,280. This is to cover additional costs for the tuck pointing repairs and reconstruction of the damaged turret on the pedestrian bridge as specified in bid 25-23 tuck pointing phase 2. During demolition and restoration, unforeseen conditions were identified, requiring additional reconstruction of the stair landing and adjacent wall, and this is a need.
Okay.
So what?
Any questions regarding this item?
Question, starting down with trustee Nelson.
So, if I remember right, we hired Mike Mike Harris Mason Contractor, because he had done work on the thing before. Is that right? Do I remember
So
that?
first we hired him, entered in a contract with him to do tuck pointing. During the general tuck pointing, there was an issue identified with the turret that was collapsing. That became phase 2. That was the second contract with Mike Harris.
And the second
It
one?
was rebid. Yeah, they both were bid separately. Now, in this process of doing the turret, they have found additional conditions that need to be addressed for the stair landing and the wall that need to be done. And so that's an increase of $40,000.
So,
Okay. Did he make a report on this, or this is it?
The information was analyzed by the architect firm, our architect firm, OPN, regarding the design of it. Because what they had to do is, when the turret collapsed, we stopped the work on the turret. We finished the first project, and I went out to bid to fix the turret. But we also knew that the turret hadn't completely collapsed yet. And once we started to go through the process of rebuilding it, there was a chance that we would have additional issues that would arise. And because of my luck, additional issues did arise. So
I was just about to say that.
So what happened basically is we thought the platform was supported independently from the wall, and when the wall finally was taken all down, that platform is not. So we have to rebuild the platform to structure it properly according to proper guidelines now. The advantage is now we know exactly how those turrets are built, and if the other one has issues, we're going to know exactly what needs to be done in order to fix that turret.
Will we record this somewhere where, say, we have a new...
Well, okay, that new system doesn't record it this way, but all bids and all projects are recorded in what's called SharePoint. So we will have the information for a later date.
Okay, and that will be not only available for yours, but also accessible? Do you understand my question?
It will be there, it will be accessible as long as we continue to utilize the system, and I don't think the system is going anywhere.
No, you're talking about SharePoint. How about the system you're using for maintenance, upgrades, stuff like that? Is this involved?
Okay, so you're talking about Brightly, thank you. You're talking about Brightly. Brightly keeps track of all of the maintenance, work orders, the inventory, but this is a project. This is not a work order situation.
Very good.
So that is maintained separately in separate folders in a different part.
Heather, if you give a mouse a cookie, right? It's a give your mouse a cookie thing. It's just going to get worse as it goes down the road, okay? And it's, so, I mean, we started off with tuck pointing. And from the tuck pointing, we found out something else, and we created a separate new project for that. Now, the ask here isn't a separate new project. It's just an add-on to the existing one, but you're queuing it up for historical knowledge in case we need it for the other one.
The way that those turrets are built, you will need it for historical knowledge.
Okay, do you expect...
How is the other turret?
Fine right now. I'm being perfectly honest. It's fine right now. It passed everything right now.
All right.
Its basic design, I don't want to say is faulted, is not utilized anymore in modern construction.
Right, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Building codes have improved.
Correct.
Any other questions on that? Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to purchase report B. The first item there is for Beacon Equipment Resources with $300,000. Expenses for the new Sure Manufacturing workbenches and shop storage solutions for the automotive and collision repair programs at downtown West location. Bid 25-29-D10 workbenches for downtown campus received one response. It was open December 3rd. Beacon Equipment Resources submittal for the specific equipment was $286,271.90. And this request includes a contingency of $13,728.10. The second item here is for re-up education, not to exceed $60,000. This expense is for fiscal year 2026 services to re-engage Rock Valley College's stop-out population, those students whose last date of attendance was more than 2 years ago and up to 20 years ago, with the goal to help these students prepare for re-enrollment and provide support after they return. This initiative, delivered through the college's partnership with Re-Up Education, was established by Board Report BR 8240 on February 25th, 2025, and is designed to increase the enrollment of regional adult learners, improve persistence, retention, and completion rates, and recapture tuition revenue for the institution. Item C is Region 1 Planning Council for $40,000. This expense covers two projects. The first is an economic impact analysis that will include Rock Valley College's return on investment for students and the district. Region 1 Planning Council staff will conduct the research, analyze data, and prepare the report. The second project is grant writing services for the fiscal year 26 fund for the improvement post-secondary education grant application to support Rock Valley College's Artificial Intelligence Center. These services include developing grant narrative and budget. RVC will be charged an hourly rate for these services with a total not to exceed $40,000. Item E, or D, I'm sorry, is for Entree Computer Solutions.
Sorry, I didn't recognize you. You had a question, Trustee Nelson?
I wanted to ask a question about the Region 1 Planning Council. Just so I'm clear, we're paying them $40,000 to write two grant requests. Is that, do I have that right?
one grant request and one report.
And, okay, can you go back through what each one, which one's the grant report, what's that for, and then what was the report?
So the first is the economic impact analysis, which is a report, and that looks at our return of investment for students in the district. The second one is a grant writing service to help us for the grant application for the Artificial Intelligence Center.
And have we, I don't recollect that the board has voted any money for the Artificial Intelligence Center, or we have, and I just didn't see it, or what's the deal on that?
You want to speak to it?
So the only thing that we've proposed so far would be grant-funded funds for that project, but we're considering putting that in space at the Downtown West.
That will be the artificial center?
Yes. Yeah.
AI center.
Correct.
Any questions? Trustee Nelson?
Well, I'd like to keep, I'd hope that we could, Mr. President, we could keep the board updated on that project.
Well, I believe they're going out for the money first.
No, I understand.
And if they
I'd like to
don't
know
get the
if
money,
they get
they'll
the
probably
money,
come to us for an ask.
Yeah.
Because we seem interested in it. Well, everybody but me, but yeah. So.
I mean, conceptually, you were going to have a room in the downtown campus that's going to be the AI center? Is that the concept?
Yeah, the grant requests included equipment that would be in that room, technology that would be in that room. So yes, we're considering a physical space, yes.
This grant has,
Sign above the door says AI center or something like that.
President Spearman's tapping me on the shoulder. What would you like to introduce as new evidence to squelch the discussion?
Just want to say that this is what we were discussing, and you gave us permission in December to, late November, beginning of December, to submit. And yes, so it's a concept. We're looking at this AI Center for Excellence. This is part of the takeaway that we have from the AI task force that we discussed. And the reason why it's combined with this report is because we had enough dollars that we were already working on an economic impact study, and then we couldn't go over 25. So we asked you in advance, could we submit for this? You agreed to it. And so now you're seeing it all together and why we needed to know in advance that we have permission. Now, you'll hear, and if you're asking for updates, so you will hear something in the future. There's another grant opportunity that we have, Trustee Trojan, that you asked about a couple of weeks ago. So we'll be looking at that as well and submitting something on the federal level for that one, on the state level for that one as well. And hopefully with this federal grant, we'll hear maybe in the next week or two whether or not we received it. So maybe we'll have something to report out by the board meeting, January board meeting.
Maybe, don't promise.
Yeah, maybe.
It's going to be a busy month.
I mean, conceptually, having a room on our campus, especially downtown, devoted to AI, I think puts us on the map different than any other local college or university. So I think conceptually, I'm fully in favor of it.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, yeah, because most of them would have it in the cloud, and where AI mostly is done. But yeah, that's all right. Sorry, I'm going to be cynical through this whole AI discussion forever.
All right, moving on to the next item if we're done with this one.
Yeah.
Entree Computer Solution for $290,000. This expense is for the hardware and equipment necessary to upgrade the wireless access points across all college locations. The existing equipment is nearing end of life and needs to be replaced. RFP 25-33 wireless access point equipment received 2 responses that were opened on December 18th, 2025. Entree Computer Solutions submitted the lowest responsible proposal in the amount of $276,476.37. And this request includes a contingency of $13,523.63 to cover any potential additional equipment needs we find.
Mr. Chairman.
Is the cost included in installation, or are we doing that, or somebody else?
It does not include installation.
Okay,
This
so
is just
staff here
equipment.
is doing that? Or are you going to come to us for
More money.
installation costs?
We had gone out to see if we needed to bid it. At this point, the cost to do it is under the bid threshold, so we will get quotes for it.
Oh, quotes, okay, very good, okay, thank you. Trustee Nelson.
I often ask this question. It seems that there's a pretty big disparity between the bids. Is there an explanation that I could understand available to explain that?
You are correct. We often have discrepancies or large differences, particularly in IT equipment. I don't know often why it's necessarily there. All we can do is contact the lowest responsive bidder, make sure all the equipment is in there, make sure everything that we wanted in the bid, we verify with them. And I don't know if they wanted the bid better than somebody else, or what exactly the reason, or if they're somehow getting some volume discount. But we do verify that the information is correct and that they can meet the goals of the bid before we select them as the least.
Well, thank you very much for that. And of course, I'm not totally over the moon, but I'm pleased that we're doing business with our company in McChesney Power.
I can't speak to it in terms of this specific bid, but I know in some technology bids, when you go out for bid and you reach the vendor, the first vendor that goes out and talks to a manufacturer to get the best price is the only company that gets that best price. Maybe Entree has that type of partnership. Don't know, just speculating, but I know in my own experience that's happened, and the price differences is huge. I mean, just phenomenal. So.
Good work.
All right, the final item on the purchase report is for Herf Jones for $28,822.70. This is for commencement regalia and diploma covers for graduates and rental regalia for faculty. Bid 25-31 commencement regalia received 4 responses that were opened on December 12th. Herf Jones was the lowest responsible bidder, and this would be year 1 of a 3-year contract.
Have we used them before?
Yes, we have.
So we got 4 responses on a 29,000 bid, but we only got 2 on a $250,000 plus bid. I know, Crystal laughing there.
I was thinking better.
Okay, thanks.
Is that roughly $30,000 a year then? Is that, and we're spending 29 of the first of the 3-year contract? Okay.
All right. Our next item is the financial audit. So earlier, you've heard a presentation from Sickage. The college received an unmodified opinion in the annual financial audit, and the unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance in which the auditors concludes that financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principle. This board report recommends that the Board of Trustees accepts the fiscal year 2025 fiscal report prepared by the independent auditing firm of Sickage CPA LLC. Any questions?
Just like it was inferring, the auditors and attorneys and IT people all have their jargon, but it just an unmodified opinion. I mean, all opinions are modified somehow, so, okay. I would say unmodified evaluation, but okay, it's all right. All right, any questions for Ellen on that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Got one more, gotta keep
Yep.
going here.
Yep.
We have tonight the FY '27 capital project request, and Rick Jenks is going to walk through that.
Oh, man. Rick, you're always the bearer of bad news.
Yeah, that's pretty much in my job description. So this is the FY '27 capital project request. I've brought this forward to the board over the past 4.5 years that I've been in this position. I do it every year. The items here, I want to reiterate, remind the board, this is just approval for us for Ellen, to take the money, set it aside in capital, and then ultimately, we still have to come back to the board for the final approval of the actual items. Make that clear? The items we're looking to do this year, as we continue to upgrade our fleet, if you recall, our fleet was it was in really bad shape. We have been working towards fixing that fleet, and the first 3 items are part of that continued effort to upgrade our status on our fleet vehicles, or vehicles used by Rock Valley College. Second items are service and equipment items. There are multiple items there that you can read through. There's a couple I'd like to point out. One in particular is the addition of the 3rd generator. I know that I had brought a presentation forward regarding the addition of a 3rd generator to the boiler house, and it was requested that I do continue to have, or that I list it on the capital project request form. So that is in there. We have some other equipment that we will be looking to replace over the years as we continue to not only upgrade our fleet, but upgrade the equipment that is utilized by our teams in order to keep the campus looking the way that it does and all the services that we have to render. In addition, there's also building items. One of those items is the boiler house emergency generator, or emergency boiler replacement. This is actually to reimburse the capital funds for money we had to spend in an emergency situation. If you recall, the boiler in the boiler house failed, and we had to replace it. So we came back to you and requested an emergency project. So this is just to replace that money. There's other items that are listed there. The Student Center atrium, we would like to redo that stage to make it more ADA compliant for events that occur during graduation. Right now, there's 3 steps, no railings, nothing. I would like to get the architects in there and come up with a different solution that's more ADA friendly. In addition, we have some other technology upgrades to the PAR technology. We've done some upgrades. We'd like to continue to do more in the space we're in right now. We also have an air handling unit that's over 60 years old that was not replaced when the Student Center was remodeled. That unit is getting close to a point where we're going to need to replace it. It's actually much older than it should be, and it has reached its end of life. We have, we have the wireless access points. That is actually a capital request, but it's also on the board for the purchase report because we're reaching end of life, so we need to move quickly to get those replaced in order to maintain our security.
And regarding that, so in that report that was just given, there was a 13,000, almost 14,000 reserve. Is that part of the 290, or is that in addition to the 290?
That's part of it.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, thanks.
Yes. And a couple other areas, the item, as part of the tuck pointing, we were working on the bridge. We found that the pipes that feed the student center, the Stenstrom Student Center, thanks. The Stenstrom Student Center, the PEC, and the Woodward Technology Center were rusted and deteriorating, and actually the supports that are holding it are falling away. We need to get in there and figure out what's going on. We have fixed the crack in the bridge that was causing the rusting over the past several years. Now that we've fixed that, we need to go in and fix the pipes. So that's another item that's on there. We also have some parking lot repairs. We're always needing to repair our parking lots. There's architectural and engineering fees to do all of these projects. We're also setting aside additional money for classroom technology upgrades. The administration is currently working with faculty and staff to identify areas for improvement. That's a process that Dr. Smith and I are spearheading. And also we have life cycle equipment on the list. The total is for $9,898,000. Do you have any questions?
Do you ever consider the irony as a former law enforcement agent cleaning up the campus, and now you're cleaning up the campus in a different way? So,
no, actually.
No, never occurred to you. All right. Questions, Trustee Nelson?
Yes, Ellen, where do we have the close to $10 million available, or how are we going to pay for this, or are we going to take it project by project? There's some big numbers up there.
No, that brings us to the next report, if you will. The next report is the FY26 fund transfer request. So annually, upon completion of our financial audit, we bring forth a recommendation for transfers from Operation Fund 01. Recommendation is based on the amount of revenue that exceeded expenses during the year and maintaining compliance with board policy 510.160 operating fund balance, with the goal of maintaining an operating fund balance between 35 to 50% of the following year's budgeted expenses. So the amount of transfers totals $15 million that I am requesting this evening. They are made up of Fund 19 for other post-benefit or OPEB fund of $1 million. We've been transferring regularly to that. The second is for Fund 5 auxiliary, $2 million to continue supporting those auxiliary programs, which includes athletics and Starlight Theater. Fund 3, capital maintenance, operations and maintenance for capital, $10 million. And Fund 18, employee benefits, $2 million to continue covering the increasing cost of health insurance.
Okay. Covering the what?
Increasing cost of health insurance.
Okay.
Crystal?
For the profit
Any questions?
operating fund.
Gloria? Sorry, Isaiah?
I have a question. Yeah.
I'll just stand up here with you.
So my question is, in terms of the parking lot and outdoor, in terms of parking lot 7, does that include also the road leading out of RVC?
So the road leading out of RVC, the perimeter road, whatever you want to call it, it's called RVC Circle. That is actually being done as a CDB project.
Okay.
So that is a different funding source for that particular project through the state.
Okay.
What this is going to do, the Lot 7, we need to move our bus stop. Our bus stop is currently way out by Lot 9, and it's not very accessible for people or for individuals with ADA requirements. So the goal is to move that bus stop in front of the JCSM so that it be closer for people and more accessible for individuals who need it. In order to do that, RMTD will not drive through our parking lots. They don't want to do it. I don't want them to do it. So we're rearranging that parking lot and making a road through the parking lot so that RMTD can come down what's called STEM Drive by Lot 6, pull off, pick people off, let some people off, then drive through Lot 7 out to the new perimeter road, which will be done by CDB, so that they can exit.
And with creating a road like that, you don't see there being a problem with student traffic being impacted at all?
We're actually hoping it'll improve traffic.
Okay.
Because student traffic right now is touch and go on that side of campus.
Okay. That's what I like to hear.
Do we have to come up with a name for that street?
I was just going to continue to call it STEM.
Extension of?
STEM. STEM comes this way, and then it's going to turn and go this way. We can just call it STEM. Or if the board would like the opportunity to name it something, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, Patrick Murphy
would.
Lane. Patrick Murphy Lane.
No. I think maybe Mr. Seckler is overdue for
Just
recognition.
one last question.
Yes, sir.
So with this project, when are you hoping to want to start it, if that's something you can be able to?
I wanted to start it this summer, but I'm actually going to be talking to the board about postponing some projects because I have to spend, me and my team have to spend more time on the downtown project.
Okay.
Admirable. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Gloria?
I do. Rick, one of the things I noticed as you were going through these items on the first page, all of these things are over 10 years old. And I think what concerns me is that, I mean, and I know it's not your fault. I don't know if there is a fault here, but why do we wait so long? I mean, isn't there an added cost for anything that's older than 10 years old? I mean, and doesn't that end up costing us more?
So when I first started 4.5 years ago, I was replacing stuff that was 20 years old, falling apart. So we've been replacing things as we have time and as we have money and trying to do this balance. You're right, it's 10 years old, we should be replacing it. That's why I'm asking for replacing. But we're slowly working towards that. We're getting to a more reasonable life expectancy rates for these particular items.
And I would imagine that would be on us as well, because if we are to be fiscally responsible, to me, I would consider our looking at this sooner. I mean, I'm not saying this year, but I mean, really reviewing it more often. I mean, when you look at something that's 18 years old, 13 years old, 20 years old, it's just, I don't think it's very frugal. So
we replaced some other items that were 50 years old.
I believe it, because I've been listening to you all these years, and so I guess
we are getting there. We're making progress.
Right. Okay.
Well, it's beholden on the staff to make the recommendations, and it's beholden on us to, review them and approve them and move them forward. When I started in Lee County, I started in a building that was 151 years old, and I complained that the computers were that old. So, and it's kind of like Rick steps into something, and stuff is, you got to take the oldest, most, you got to deal with put those fires out first.
That.
So
I'm just saying.
Part of the problem, Trustee Kadia, if I replace everything all at once, it all reaches end of life at the same time.
Right.
So I have to spread it out over time. I can't fix the problem all at once because it will create issues for my predecessor who is going to have to deal with all this.
Successor?
We understand. Ellen can just write a check. What the heck, right?
Thank you, successor.
Oh, thank you.
I used
it might cause problems to your predecessor too, saying you didn't do a great job. I'm doing a better job, or something like that. I don't know.
Sorry, my successor. Yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you,
Bob. Anything?
I'm having trouble with this OPEB numbers. Could you, in your words, tell me what is our liability? How much have we funded already? And what do we still have yet to fund, exclusive of the $1 million you're going to transfer in? I can't make these numbers work.
Currently, if we do this transfer, it'll put us at $13.5 million.
What's 13.5?
We will have funded $13.5 million.
That's what we funded.
Yes.
Okay. What's our liability?
Our current liability is currently $9.5 million. However, I just want you to be aware that that fluctuates based on the assumptions they use in calculating it. So prior to them changing the discount rate, our liability was $23.9 million.
So are you saying we're overfunded for the OPEB?
We are currently overfunded based on them using the current discount rate, which reduced our liability. But that discount rate can change like that.
Yeah, so why are you putting another $1 million in?
Just to make sure we're covered, and if the discount rate goes up,
you can still move it around. You can still move it around anyway, so I understand.
Right.
So you see, there is profit, operating revenues over expenses, because you're moving money out of the operating fund. And to me, it's profit.
We have a net profit, yes.
Okay,
Well, it's a net gain. I don't know if it's a
enough said.
Net revenue.
net
I hate the
revenue.
word profit for a non.
Yeah, for a non, yeah.
It's revenue.
Yeah, it's revenue.
All right, any other questions?
Questions?
Yes, I'm done.
Kristen?
Thank you.
John? No, okay, thank you.
All right,
Next.
the last report I have for you this evening is the cash and investment report.
Revenue.
Operating cash and investments decreased $3.6 million from November 30th to $97.8 million as of December 31st. Total operating cash and investments is at 96.7% of operating budget as of the end of the year. Working cash funds increased slightly due to the receipt of interest, and capital funds decreased $13.2 million during December due to bond payments that were due at the end of the calendar year of $13.5 million. Are there any questions?
The usual,
John?
We're still in good shape.
Anybody else?
but less good or making me nervous, Ariel?
I'm not nervous at 97% by any means.
Just wait till you get the operations report, though.
Right.
Anything else?
No.
All right, thank you.
So folks might think I'm in a jovial mood, but this nervous energy in advance of the operations discussion from Trustee Trojan, who's going to pass it off, I'm going to take a 1-minute stretch because I am sore, and I encourage anybody else to, because I expect Jay to take a while. So.
Okay, Jay. Where's Jace?
No, we're not. Okay, go ahead.
The first item is actually Brittany Freiberg from
Brittany.
Foundation.
Drum roll. Rude.
No pressure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me time to present.
Then remind me to put her up front.
If you recall, I presented to you at your October Committee of the Whole and was asked to give a foundation update, which I did, and we were able to highlight some of the growth that we've experienced in terms of funds raised and scholarship dollars awarded. At the end of my presentation, the question was posed, do we have the current staffing structure to be able to maintain that growth? And I answered honestly in the fact that I felt like we had, our workload has started to surpass what we're able to do with a staff size of 4 full-time employees. You then asked me to look at a new proposal and to come back to you. So that's what brings me here tonight. So you may also recall, as part of our MOU between the college and the Rock Valley College Foundation, you currently support us each year at $150,000 level to help offset our operation expenses. So I'm coming to you tonight to ask for an additional $100,000, which you will see would increase your total commitment on an annual basis of $250,000. Over the last 5 years, I'm pleased to report that we have raised almost $11 million. Since 1979 to present day, we have 236 unique scholarships that we manage and steward and award each year. 44 of those 236 scholarships came in this past calendar year. I forget that we're already. This next chart just shows you overall annual growth from FY20. We raised $866,000 to FY25. We ended that fiscal year at $2.9 million. So that blue column indicates total funds raised. The orange you see is unrestricted dollars, so those are what help fund our operations and keep our doors open as a 501c3. The gray are restricted, so that's where your program support, your scholarships come in. And then in FY23, that yellow column, you can see that's where your $150,000 in annual support comes into play. Why I break down those fund segments is I want to kind of highlight that orange column, that unrestricted operational funds raised. Look at that, you can see a pattern where we have steadily decreased in unrestricted support. This is not unique to our foundation. This is a trend across all nonprofits. Donors are savvy, especially now with younger generations.
they want to know exactly, and they want to tell you exactly where they want their money to go. 9 times out of 10, if I give a donor an option to choose between supporting operations, day-to-day operations, or supporting a student scholarship, they're going to choose the student scholarship. This just shows you a bird's eye view of our growth between donors and gifts. So in FY20, we brought in just over 2,700 gifts. This past year, we processed over 4,000 gifts.
When was it that you hired Rachel?
She came on in April of 22.
20 what?
22. This is probably my favorite slide. You can see, so these dots indicate the number of new scholarships we brought in each year. So between 1977 to 2012, we brought in 44 scholarships. This year, this past calendar year, we brought in the same amount in 1 year that we brought in between 1977 and 2012. It's something to celebrate. We're so thankful for the donors, but it also just increased our workload in a very unexpected way. All of those 44 individual scholarships take hours, if not days sometimes, to work with the donors, meet with them multiple times to get their criteria exactly where they want it. And then that also lends itself to dramatic increase in how many scholarships we're awarding. This chart just breaks down the amount of funds available to award. So in FY 2020, we were awarding just under 300,000. We have, for this year, we will have tripled the number of scholarship dollars available to award in the last 5 years. The lines, the columns you see circled in red, I was asked to give projections for the next 3 years. You can see I'm very conservative in my projections because unfortunately I don't have a crystal ball. There's a lot of things that come into play. We don't always just compete with our peer nonprofits. We're competing with the economy, inflation, parents who have kids in school. So I didn't want to overestimate. Then here you see total number of scholarships awarded. So we were under 300 awards in FY20, now up over 400. I do confidently believe that we will be close to 500 awards this year.
The available funds are real. I mean, you're not banking on wishful thinking.
They're cash in hand.
Cash in hand.
Cash in hand, yes. So our current, you can see our current staff structure. We are a small but mighty team of 4. So I have a director of development and alumni relations, an administrative assistant, and then a scholarship and financial operations manager. What I am proposing would be to add, and this title will have to go through HR, so it may change, but I'm proposing the addition of a manager of fund development and engagement as a fifth full-time position. I believe, and we've been strategic, I didn't want to just hire someone that's out raising money because all that does is exacerbate the problem that we have right now in trying to award the scholarships, manage all the gifts. So we are looking for someone that could help build meaningful relationships with donors and donor prospects. I think there's money to be had in college event sponsorships that Rachel and I simply just don't have the time to go out and seek those dollars all the time. I'm constantly approached by student clubs that are hosting events or programs that are hosting events that I think could be sellable in terms of sponsorship dollars. I'll try to help them in a very minimal way. But I think there's dollars to be had under this role. We'd also like them to help elevate the donor stewardship experience and then just help strengthen operations by having an additional person to share the increased workload. And this, I was also asked in preparation of tonight to look at peer institutions. So there's 18 Illinois Community College foundations shown here. 7 in the green are fully funded by their colleges. There's 10 of us in the yellow that range from us receiving $150,000 in annual support from their institution all the way up to, I think Kankakee receives 82% of their foundation's operating budget from their college. The lone wolf is Highland, and they are fully operational, fully funded by themselves, but they received a very large endowment in 1962 that funds their day-to-day operations. So in summary, I just respectfully come to you tonight and ask you for consideration of an increase of $100,000 to bring your annual support from $150,000 to $200,000 so that we may add a fifth person to help us grow our staff and infrastructure to meet donor and student scholarship needs.
All right.
I'll start with Crystal.
Thank you.
Any questions? That's it?
I'll save my question for later.
Later? Okay, the time is now.
Okay, sorry. I just had one question in terms of what I was looking at in your slide. It was stated that there's 236 total unique scholarships since 1979 to present. My question is, what amount of scholarships could be considered redundant due to narrow requirements for scholarships that limit the number of eligible applicants? Yeah. So what amount of scholarships could be considered redundant due to narrow requirements for scholarships that limit the number of eligible applicants?
Are there duplicates and how many? If you know.
Yeah, there really aren't. I wouldn't say that there's any that I would call redundant, only because those each represent an individual that has told us how we have to award their funds. There are duplicates in the fact that we have over 150,000 available specifically for engineering.
Yeah.
But otherwise, those are all unique donor criteria that we could not amend.
So then my question leads to how many of those, right, are restricted or unrestricted? So ones that have very strict requirements towards obtaining that look for specific things for applicants to be considered eligible for that scholarship. I mean, is there a certain amount of restricted or like higher than restricted or higher than unrestricted?
I would say, Rachel, you can correct me, I would estimate probably 75% are restricted within the scholarship pool.
Okay.
There are just a handful that say must have a 2.0 and demonstrate financial need.
Okay.
The strong majority say which program the students need to be studying. Some of them have very unique criteria in that they must be a graduate of Belvedere School District. They must be a single parent. So the majority are very restricted. But we do work with donors. I will tell them if they are too restricted. Because I want to be able to award the funds.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Gloria.
Just a quick one. On page 4, where it talks about where you have the graph showing the annual growth in new scholarship funds and that amazing jump at the end, would you attribute that to perhaps the downtown funds and the CEO challenge, and or anything else that you would say attributed to this amazing growth?
Yes. Thank you. That's a great question. So yes, you've hit 2 of them on the head with CEO Challenge. With CEO, we brought in, I think, 17 new scholarships that I'm hoping those CEOs and those organizations continue to fund. We'll invite them back again this year. We have had great success so far with Downtown West, but we've also seen over the last year 2 other areas at play. One, unfortunately, is we've had a lot of donors who have lost a loved one. And I don't know if word's gotten around, but they want somewhere tangible to direct their memorial gifts. And so Rachel and I have courted quite a few families through that process. And then the 4th category is with a lot of our donors now hitting that qualified minimum charitable distribution, they have to give away a certain portion of their wealth to avoid tax complications. And so we've had quite a few donors that have called us out of the blue, said, I have to give away $5,000, I have to give away 10. One of our donors has to give away $100,000 a year to avoid taxes on it. So I think as our loyal donor base is aging, they're starting to hit that threshold where I'm hoping they'll continue, if we steward them well, that we're still their first choice each year when they have to give those dollars away.
Perfect.
Bless you.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions, Gloria?
Thank you.
Bob?
Just a comment. I believe the Community Foundation awards over $4 million a year of scholarships to a variety or grants or whatever. Because their asset base is about $110 million. And I know it's 4%.
I believe we award more scholarships than they do. They will say publicly that they are the largest scholarship and grantor in Northern Illinois, but where they surpass us is in the bulk of what they award are grant funds.
Plus, I mean the total grants plus scholarships.
Correct.
Well, anyway, I know we don't vote on this thing tonight, but I'm in favor of supporting this initiative.
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to slant the numbers, we just pick the grant, that they get from the federal government and add it to our numbers too, and then we'd really be padding the numbers. So there you go. Kristen, no, she's gone. Okay, John.
Kristen will be back. Let me ask a couple of questions overall about the structure of the foundation, and that is that I know, or it seems to me that we used to give you, a larger stipend, let's call it, and then we reduced that once you were able to take a portion of any donation. But now, as I understand it, we're doing so well in recruiting money that we want someone to not only bring in the money, but to be able to service the money that is brought in. I get all that. My question really is, and I always ask this, what is the amount, when I first came here, I asked what the foundation balance was, and I heard 200, and I thought, I said 200 million? No, it was 200,000. So what is our foundation balance now, and what do we have essentially for a fixed foundation dollar amount? Because I know that, for example, or at least I believe that the College of DuPage is at 60 million, and those are numbers that we could really use. I'm not saying we have those, but what is our number, if you know?
So we have just crossed over the threshold, I believe, of 23 million that we hold in either liquid assets or investments. A lot of that is tied up either in donor restrictions. Most of it is tied up in donor restrictions. And then a large portion is also permanently endowed. So I cannot access those funds.
You can't differentiate at this time, right?
Correct. So I will say, and I can, if I come back in later in this year, I can do that research. I've shown before where we rank in terms of our peers, and we were in the top 10% of the ICCB foundations in terms of how much money we hold. College of DuPage definitely surpasses us, but we were in the top 10.
Well, as wealthy as Rockford's going to be, and going to be sooner rather than later, I'd like to see us number one, of course. Now, I take it that the 100,000 will cover salary and expenses?
Yes.
Benefits.
Or benefits,
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, have you hired, or do you have a candidate in mind?
No, so this has to be my first step, because without without the funding, the portion of unrestricted funds I raise will not cover a fifth position. So that my first step is here, then if you approve that, then I can start the process with HR.
All right, and it is, this is my real question, and that is it, in your opinion, is it A, enough, B, you need more, or C, you think you can get by with a little less? Do you understand?
Yes, I do. At this point, I believe for option A, I believe the 100,000 to be enough. I have shared with my board, I believe in a few years when some of these new endowments, right now they're going to be in a resting period for 2 to 3 years. When those kick in, it's even more scholarship volume. So I do believe in a couple of years, we may come back and ask for additional support. I think the scholarship program will require 2 full-time, but at this point, I don't believe we're at that stage. I believe 100,000 would get us to where we need to be.
Okay. Well, if my partner Bob's for it, I am too.
Well, I want to thank you again. You're very thorough with your presentations. I appreciate that. And to remind the board and anybody watching and audience and the like, is that you're here because we actually asked you. We said, hey, do you need help? Come to us, let you know what we need. And you're asking for $100,000 to kind of make this happen. And I'd also like to say that it's the first time probably in 12, maybe 14 years where somebody presented a presentation that was friendly to colorblind people. You used colors that were totally dissimilar and the like, and I really appreciate that. I don't think people realize like 9% of the population can't see half of the dang PowerPoints that are created today, so appreciate that. And I think we can also consider a consensus amongst the board members. This doesn't come to us at the next meeting. If we actually have people, Jenna Goldsmith won't be there, but if we can hold the team that we have together for the January meeting, I'm pretty certain this will go through. So if you haven't started writing the job description, I start retooling and get ready for it, because it'll pass unless we don't have a meeting. So, okay, and if that, it would just pass at the next regular meeting, so. Right, guys? I mean, men and women, we don't have any problem with.
No, I think start talking to HR right away.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right.
And congratulations to your staff.
Okay, Rick. Again. Bill?
Have we started on that yet?
Different chart.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Hello.
Tonight, my first presentation will be my quarterly update for the new downtown campus that we're all familiar with. All right. This is the document I've shown you before, listing all of the current costs and expenditures. A couple of areas that I want to point out on this sheet. At the top, you will see that I have adjusted the PAA architect fee to a price above $3 million, just based on information that we have now. Just so you can see what that does in regards to the budget. We also have several items that are TBD. Those are actually FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment. We are starting that process right now, and that will be going on until the building opens. It will be a workload for my team to get all of those out. Currently need to do $2.35 million worth of FF&E bids for different structures. If you note on the purchase report for this month, there's actually one of those FF&E items on there for the sure equipment. Continue to begin seeing, or you continue to see those pop up as we move forward. Some of them will be coming fairly quickly, others probably in the next month. Okay. You're aware of that. The other items consist of bid package 1, which is complete, 2 and 3, which are also complete, 4. I just leave those information on there so that you can have it. The next item lists all of the packages for bid package 5. The biggest item that I think everybody probably wants to look at is the total projected budget if we use all of the contingency, if we do everything, is $57 million roughly. We did receive board approval for the total project to be $58 million. So we are less than that. You will see that I have the contingency listed as $522,000. It is not that high right now. That is my giving you an estimate of where we're going to be. I have, for example, a $46,000 credit that I'm working on right now, and I have another $60,000 credit I'm working on, but I also have a $30,000 expenditure that I'm working on and others. So this is just a rough estimate for you to see where we stand right now in regards to the actual cost. That does not include the $2 million worth of grants. I'm just listing them up there, but we did get $2 million worth of grant money. We have actually utilized some of that grant money, but I keep it separated because I don't want it to introduce. Any questions on these particular numbers?
Questions, starting down with Trustee Nelson.
So the $2 million is a contingency, you said, but we've spent some of that?
Our contingency is $2.22 million. And yes, we have spent that. Actually, in the further sheets down, currently we have spent $274,221.61. On this sheet, though, I listed it as $500,000 because of the ebbs and flows, and just wanted to give you an idea that we're still doing very well on our contingency, considering where we're at in the project. But there are a lot of moving parts.
Well, I'm glad we can keep you busy, Rick.
7 days a week right now.
Yeah. Trustee Simpson. George. Good. Bob, any questions? Good. Gloria.
Cutting back to 7 days? Thank you.
I'm glad somebody else can be cynical. So, Trustee Blake.
When was the last time that you asked for more contingency money before the $2.2 million?
When, we haven't asked.
Okay. It's been all along.
The original amount was roughly $4 million.
Okay.
We changed the contingency amount to $2.2 million based on conversations I had with the construction manager at risk, which is Johnson Construction. They felt 2.2 was more than adequate.
Okay. Thank you.
Crystal? Nothing? Okay.
As far as the project itself, you can see the list of change orders that have gone through the system. Like I said earlier, the total amount right now is at $274,000. That's not unusual for a project of this size. And I will say we have a multitude of architectural special instructions, owner special instructions, proposed change orders, requests for information, and other items that are going on right now. So it will ebb and flow, and I will keep you informed on the progress of all of those. I will say, as far as the project is concerned, the team continues to work on submittals from contractors. We are working on making sure we're getting all these items ordered. That is a lengthy process, and we continue to work through it. Both buildings are closed in, so that means that they're closed in on the climate weather, although the weather has been pretty nice. Right now, it's going to be getting cold, so we do have those closed in so that the trades can work inside the buildings. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to start really hitting the FF&E bids pretty hard. in the next month or two. In the future, contractors are they're working on finalizing all the conduit, and we're working in large areas that we're adding the HVAC, electrical, plumbing. Project is coming along. We are running into some snags in the Downtown Learning Center. We're about 3 weeks behind on that project. Part of the reason that I am taking a bigger role in that project is to make sure that the project gets back on track and on time. We'll work as the go-between between the CMR and the architects to try and ensure that that happens. We have to be in the building in August, period. Our leases to other areas and things that I have put in place that I started 3 years ago when I started this original plan all come to a conclusion in August, and we need to have these buildings done. Any questions?
No, I just have a vision of you. It's as if it was the Ten Commandments movie, being the overseer, just driving people to get the project done on time. So.
We will get the project done.
Please don't be that way. So, all right. Trustee Nelson.
I can't remember exactly where we have leases, but I understand that you're confident you're going to get the project finished. However, is there any chance we can stay for a couple of extra months if we need to, or should we work on that, or do you need some?
No, we can't. It's pretty much a hard deadline, both for 205 and for downtown. And the biggest problem is the automotive program, because I have to get lifts out of one area and into another area in a very small window of time. When classes are done in the spring semester and before things start again in the fall, they have one summer class, and then after that I have to go. So there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that have gone into the planning of this, and it really needs to come to a head in actually July.
Trustee Simpson? No. Trustee Trojan?
Oh, good.
Trustee Cadilla? Wait.
Good.
Solta? Nope. Okay. The question I have, in open session here, we had a representative from BKA asked the board for $445,000, $450,000. How would that impact our contingency?
So if you look, because I didn't know where things were going, I actually incorporated almost $3.6 million into theirs, and we would still be, we'd be at $57,083,000 versus the $58 million that we have agreed, or the board has approved back in March of 2025.
You shouldn't have published this on the internet. Dominic would have never seen it. Okay, thank you. Appreciate you answered my question. Thank you. All right. Next up.
Thank you, Rick.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm still here, though.
Yep.
The next item to discuss is the CL2 building update. I will be joined by Dr. Amanda Smith as we go through this particular presentation as it relates to the CDB project. The first item I want to do is do a slight summary of events, because this project is different than the downtown projects in the fact that it is a CDB, or what's called a Capital Development Board project. So the CDB created a project to allow us to rebuild the classroom building 2. At the original time, CDB said that they would give us $17 million for the project. At that time, that would have obligated Rock Valley College due to a 25% match at almost $5.6 million. That project would have totaled approximately $22 million. the board reviewed 3 options way back in April of 2024. Those options included option 3, which was a black box theater. We had also looked at potentially putting an addition on the creek side of the building, or potentially the addition on the creek side and a black box. And ultimately, the board agreed to spend roughly $38 million in adding 9,000 square foot addition, which would include a black box feature in that addition. And we also included a $3.5 million budget for furniture, fixture, and equipment that was outside of the CDB project. The funding was secured. CDB selected the architect firm, which is Bailey Edwards Architecture Firm. They were contacted or requested to do a program design and basically basic design development drawings. So that's phase 1. That's where they go out and they talk to everybody. They find out what the needs and wants are for the different areas, and then they produce a document that is for design purposes. If that gets approved, then it moves on to systematic design, which is more detailed. Based on the facility master plan, which we've been trying to follow, they interviewed the music, theater, art, continuing and community education programs to come up with the information. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith, and she's going to explain some of the program review.
Thank you. Yeah, so as we were speaking with the architects, these were the 7 items that were really our priorities as we wanted to consider what CL2 redesign would look like. We knew that we wanted to create an arts and community learning center. We knew that part of that would be elevating the arts, would be creating a black box theater. We knew that we wanted to really have like a front door access to the building that would be welcoming, that would welcome our community. We wanted to modernize our interior spaces, meaning we wanted it to be lighter. I think the room we're in right now is reflective of much of CL2, and so we would like to get it more modern. We wanted to make sure that it reflected our mission of lifelong learning, so create additional opportunities, a lot of space for collaboration, and ultimately, we knew there was a lot of mechanicals and other parts that needed to really be fixed in the area. So as we were meeting with the architects and the programs that were mentioned earlier, arts, music, theater, community, and continuing education, we had to have all of this in mind as we were going through.
So what the architects were tasked with was coming up with ideas, options for the particular building designs that would meet the goals of the different areas and meet some of the programming needs and wants. They had presented 4 options actually to the CDB. During the course of looking over those 4 options, RVC, myself, Dr. Smith, and some others asked questions about a potential 5th option, which we're calling the RVC option. As you can see, we had a certain amount of money. Option 1, which the architects, I didn't name any of these except for the last one, the RVC version. The architects called the first one Connection. I don't know why. That adds a 7,631 square foot addition, which I'll show you in a little bit, which is a black box addition. It's smaller than the 9,000 square foot addition we had talked about earlier in the presentations, mainly because the building, once they got into the building and started looking at some of the systems and some of the areas, the building truly does need to be fully gutted and redone because it is 65 years old or 60 years old and needs a major facelift. So it did drop that size down a little bit. They came up with our options, as you can see there. Our recommendation is going to be for the board to review options 1 and options 5. These are the least 2 expensive options, which is the ones I'm going to bring forward to you right now. The connection option is the least costly. It does accomplish two of the main goals for the project. One of the major goals for me was to remodel all the systems within the buildings because if you recall, I was coming to a point where I was going to have to close the building because the systems were getting so old. So it does meet that. There was also a request for the black box. It reduces the overall size of the black box in order to stay within the budgets, but it does give a decent sized black box. It does not allow for some other areas that were deemed important during the evaluation and the look and discussions with the different faculty and deans.
Sorry to interrupt, but you mean the most recent discussion with faculty and the like, right? Because you got to remind the board, this came to us originally, what, 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so things change, and we get that, and I'm glad you had new, fresh discussions, with people. And I just want to clarify, these are the recent discussions on the project. All right, thank you.
Correct. Yeah, and those were done by the architect firm themselves. It did not accommodate a 3D sculpture studio for the arts program, nor did it allow for a music ensemble room that meets the standards for ensemble rooms. Basically, because CL2 is not full stories, they're smaller stories, you can't get the headroom that you need in a particular ensemble musical room assembly within the existing building. So the only place in a truly correct ensemble room could be constructed would be in the new addition because of the height restrictions. So this model does not account for any of that. I will show you that this is the ground floor. You can see that this, the portion to the right is the existing building. The area to the left, or the white, is the addition. This particular model there is no addition to the ground floor. Everything is on the first and second for this particular model. As you can see, there is a area for a black box theater, restaurant, welcoming space, and things of that nature. Like I said, it is smaller, but it is functional and will give us the black box feature. This does not include anything for the music ensembles, as I mentioned earlier. It does have music ensemble locations on the second floor. They're small, and they won't have the head height that we need. So there's a small and a medium ensemble space on the second floor. So that's option one that was presented to the CDB, and I'm presenting to you. The next item was option 5. Again, option 5 was an option that after we had looked at all 4 options that the architects had come back with, we started asking some questions. Now, this is the least costly of the remaining options. However, it does add a fair price tag. This option gives a 10,900 square foot addition. It does allow for 3D sculpture for the arts programs. It does allow for a large ensemble music rehearsal place. This is also a place where we could have either meetings or events that would be more ADA accessible. This particular area is an area we use. This area is less than ADA accessible. So it would give us that option. I'll show you the drawings here. As you can see, there is now, on the addition to the left, there is a black box theater, but there's also a large ensemble space close to the entrance to the black box. Those are areas that we could have musical presentations in, or they could have up to a 60 instrument ensemble within that space to practice, and it would have the proper head height. I've learned a lot about music over the course of this thing, more than I ever thought I would, and apparently the height above is probably more important than the space on the ground. So that is something that was brought out during this process.
Sorry, is there seating in the ensemble area?
Seating would just be chairs. There's no
Chairs,
there's
okay,
no light.
very good.
Yeah.
Kristen, did I see your hand go up? Or something?
Yeah, I'm just curious if we're going to be able to see option 2, 3, and 4. I know you're.
You should have received the entire report, which was 374 pages long. In there are options 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
So can we get a summary right now?
Well, can you finish your cell?
No, that's fine. I don't need a summary.
I do.
Finish your scheduled presentation, and then we'll come back to that. So.
This option also would allow for the ensemble space, the black box space, and then on the third floor, we would take away one of the small ensemble spaces and create that 3D sculpture space, which would meet some of the requests from the faculty, deans, and stakeholders in the arts program. I guess this is you, right?
You're more than welcome.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we keep on bringing it back to the reason that we are doing this, and this is to serve our students. These capabilities would allow us to have some increase in our enrollments for all 3 of the programs reflected here, art, music, and theater. So when we look at the projections, that 3D printing or the 3D sculptures and additional art capabilities would allow us to see that modest increase to about 1,100 enrollments. Music, having the ensemble space would be very helpful as well. As we continue to regrow our program, you'll see that we went through some changes in faculty, and we are rebuilding our program now, and excited to see that continue. And probably the biggest impact will be the theater with the addition of the black box, as well as some additional courses that we'll be able to offer. We really will be able to see substantial growth in our theater program.
So I had, I think a number of months ago, I asked for information on the music program, and the same person who inspired me to ask that question was saying that both as you mentioned, both the music and theater programs have kind of had a hit in terms of staffing, personnel, and coursework. So I think the theater numbers are not artificially low, but they're low because we just don't offer that many theater. We don't have the throughput for it. And do you expect then? And this is probably a question for you then, as we discussed this afternoon, are we going to add more classes and faculty to support theater then with the?
If I may, we do plan that once we are up and rolling and we've completed with the CL2 project, that we will add faculty in the theater department so that we are able to really grow that program. It would not make sense for us to invest in the program and invest in the space and not invest in the human capital.
Okay, and so I do what I think would make personally, and I'm not speaking for the board on this one, would be is in advance of that though to start ramping up what you think you need for faculty and the programming for it. Make sure it's in place even as it's being planned and built out. Because if you wait till it's done and then start doing it, then you're kind of already behind. It's there and you're not taking advantage of it. Just want to make sure that the timing of the scheduling of staff and classes coincides with the development, which I expect us to support. So same thing for music. So. And not that I don't like art, my Uncle Matt was an artist, so.
Thank you.
But I'm just saying I'd like to see the numbers for all the programs go up, but I'm partial to theater and music personally, so.
Thank you.
One of the items that we always have to discuss is cost, because there's always a cost based on things. As you can see, like I said, this is a review of the prices that I showed earlier. The connection option, option 1, is basically within budget, gives us a 7,631 square feet. Does give us the disadvantage of not having a couple of the items that would be beneficial to the particular arts and music programs. Option 5, which is the second least expensive, would add, we would have to add $5.9 million to the budget. That would increase our investment up to $23.9 million. You recall that the CDB is including $17 million. This additional cost would need to be funded, or this additional price would need to be funded by bonds. And obviously, CFO Ellen Olson is here and can answer any questions related to funding.
Okay. 2 items. One, not that your request is unreasonable, but President Spearman and I had a chat this afternoon, and we still agree that we could bring possibly the architect in at the beginning of the next meeting.
Yes.
So we're going to have the architect, Bailey and Edwards, speak at the beginning of the next meeting, bring them in under presentations, all right? To address, and you can ask your questions, on the other options if you want. But at this point, can you give us a summary of the Taj Mahal one, Avenue 2.0? How's that compared to the other ones? I'm not making light of it. You've got the lowball one, and then kind of a middle of the road one. So it might be helpful to us to understand what makes one at 7.8 compared to 5.9, or less than 33 under.
What it basically boils down to is, if you look to the right, the size of the different additions. So if you look at 7,000 square feet, that leaves us right about in budget. 12,000 additional square feet takes us to 5.9 million. 14,000 square feet takes us to 7.5. 15,000 square feet takes us to 7.8. Basically, all it's doing is adding a little more space. It's making the Cadillac, as you call it, actually
Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal, pardon me. That actually puts a black box in that was the original design, the larger design.
Right.
The RVC version still has a smaller black box overall. So that's the basic difference. It's the size of those.
Okay.
Was this extra ensemble space in the larger one?
There's a large ensemble that's larger than the ensemble that's in the RVC version.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and I'm 63 years old, and I need a lot of work too. Can you remind me what the original the original project spec'd out, was it 9,000 square feet? Was that
9,000 square feet? Yes,
okay.
With a 4,000 square foot.
So we're going we're going to have a natural increase, even at fixed dollars 2 years ago. We would have a natural increase in the cost of the project based on square footage just by moving to, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, or almost 16, over there. Then we've got cost of inflation and what we're actually doing with the space. So I get that. So
correct, and understand that these spaces, the ensemble space, not so much, but the black box space, there is some technology and other items. So, price per square foot is higher for the black box than it would be for the ensemble.
Not unlike some of the improvements we've okayed to different buildings in Starlight and the like here, but just on a smaller scale.
Correct.
Okay.
And did you say that, or did the architect say that the cost also went up, or it took a lot of money for modernizing the building, like the windows, the doors, everything just was so old and out of date and non-compliant that we have to
They
grow.
didn't find anything they could keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what my wife keeps having. You can't find anything I want to keep.
we basically need to go down to
the studs.
Concrete and studs. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And I apologize for not seeing that. I figured out why, because I looked at the most recent committee of the whole email and didn't go further back a couple days. So I missed that first one.
There were a few.
But I was coming back from vacation, so I was a little off. And then I just wanted to say that I mean, if we can put in new turf to keep up with the times and spend all that money, I fully support the extra.
Yeah, all those people with knee injuries can go into the theater program.
Yeah, so I'm going to fully support, the extra money for option 5, and then I'm going to look into more detail the other options, but just putting it out there.
Wait, John, I'm going to come down. Crystal, anything?
No, I agree. I think, like what Kristen said, I agree that if we can keep up with the times, like there's no reason not to big and beautiful stuff.
And to make that happen, and I'll come back to you, John, we're going to have to transfer some funds almost immediately to keep CDB happy and then go and bond out, right?
We have to bond out.
Yes, we have to bond out, Bob. So
I'm sorry, Bob.
we have the ability and space on working fund bonds. We have $8 million worth of space. We would have to go out for those bonds. Why I'm choosing working cash bonds is that it's a quicker one-step process as opposed to going out for totally new bonds. So we do have room of $8 million, so we would have to put together a reimbursement agreement so that I could immediately, once this was approved, fund the CDB trust account and then reimburse the college when those bonds are issued.
Thank you for your unmodified opinion on that. So, Trustee Nelson.
Well, thanks to Kristen here, I was able to look at the options 2, 3, and 4, and it seems that option 3 starts out at least saying this is the original proposal. And I'm not adverse to spending money to get the original proposal, and here's the reason why. The first thing I thought of was our second elevator. And if it would have been put in at the time it should have been put in, we wouldn't have had to spend a gazillion dollars extra. And
3 times as much for it, yeah.
I want, or I would like to do that because of this, and that is my son got his theater degree from Illinois State University, and the kids that are in the acting scholarship programs will compare and contrast our black box, I'm talking theater, with everybody else's black box. I've been to the black box in Elgin, and I've been to the black box in not the College of DuPage, but the one in
Harper?
Yeah, Harper. And those are terrific. And that's, in my opinion, that's what we're going to compete with. And I would rather see suburban students come here than go there because we have a better price overall. And I don't want to lose some of our students to those other colleges. And I will say that, and I'm not going to belabor the issue. I know it comes as a surprise to everybody, but we have had many famous actors and actresses come from this area. And no wonder. I mean, it's a varied area of a bunch of different kinds of people that can show up well in their adventures, whether it be Hollywood on Broadway or in other places. So as well, this is something that when I campaigned in 2017, which is almost 10 years ago, was where is our black box theater, where is our development of the arts at Rock Valley that we've given money to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd like to reward our patrons' patience and put up a nice building. And not to put too fine a point or act like I'm agreeing with my cohort here, but I think this is a very worthwhile expenditure, and I think it's reasonable. So that's my initial thought.
And I'd like to remind the trustees, I mean, not only, when we go to theater, we see the performers, but there's so much else more to that. Stage management, everybody working behind the scenes. Most of my involvement in community theater has been actually lights, sound, doing other stuff, stage and stuff. And my niece is actually a stage manager for a children's theater, working on 3 different shows all the time throughout the year. She's not on stage, she's making sure everybody else is, though, and just working with the directors and the producers and stuff like that. So there's the technical aspect of it that I don't want us to forget when we're doing curriculum development and the like. So we're just not, drama 1, drama 2, and then, then they have no other, courses to, to work on. So, any other questions? So we're going to have an opportunity to meet if we can, if it works out with their schedule.
Yes, but I think also it sounds like we should, when we bring a board report, we should provide 3 options, and then you would vote on option 1, option 3, or option 5. Yes?
Which one is, Trustee Nelson has interpreted one of the options as being the closest to the original, but I don't see anything there at 9,000 square feet. So
I believe it's, and I'm doing this off of memory, so I believe the community entry one actually puts a building in front of CL2, and that is the art space. That particular one, I am I don't like, only because we would create this new building in the front, and we would bring people in there, but there's no offices nearby for somebody who comes in who may has a question or something along those lines. And I would prefer if they're going to walk in, if they're going to walk into the building, that they walk into an area where there's office space. So there's one that's not, that I would not recommend personally, but that's just my personal.
What about the 4?
Option 4 is just, I believe, larger space, similar in design to what you see there.
Okay, so then option 1, option 4, and option 5.
I mean,
you wanted 3 options at this point. Or do you want all?
I would leave options 1 and 5, and we can make a motion to amend to include whatever option that may come out of the presentation with the architect.
Okay.
Would that work, Matt? Can we make a motion on the floor, having seen presentation here at the board meeting, and add that as a possible option, or not amend the motion to? Well, the agenda. The agenda is going to be a vote on the costs. I mean, on the part of the project. So.
Yeah. I don't think the agenda necessarily has to specify the amount, so the board's motion can be any one of those options based on the presentation.
Okay. Does that give you enough flexibility, John? We can make.
Well, I would say yes. I don't think I'm going to deviate from 3 or 4. I'll study them closer, but we've got 1 and 5, and that's and this isn't. I mean, this is a poor choice of words, but we have cheap and less cheap, and Taj Mahal is what I want. If we have to call it that, I mean, you've got 3 and 4, and the difference is 300,000, and 1,000 square feet. I picked what I picked when I picked 3. I picked it on reading really the reading sentence that said.
Well, it's a general consensus. Anyone interested in option 1? Consensus? The minus 33.76. So if we were going to talk about two primarily, John, what would be, I'd like to talk about the staff's recommendation, even though I guess as a history of my short term as chair, I've challenged staff recommendations, but like this one I'd like to kind of stick with. But what would you're thinking 3 or 4?
Correct.
Okay.
Which are, and
Put the Taj Mahal on this. Yeah.
4 would be better than 3, Rick? Is that what you're saying?
Rick doesn't like the community entry one.
If I'm remembering them correctly, and again, this is based off of memory, but the one that has the building separate and in front is not one that I particularly care for, but that's just my opinion, and it's basically based on the layout and the fact that I would like people who are coming into the building to walk into an area where there's offices so that they can walk into that space, that common space of offices, and get assistance from people when they need it.
I guess please have staff or the architects prepared to speak on 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
Will do.
Will that work?
Perfect.
Okay.
We can make that happen. And the architects are already on the schedule to come, so that's...
Okay, great.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are you, with staff, did we have any input on this architect that CDB recommended?
No.
Did we vet them? Are we comfortable with them? Have we done business with them?
We have never done business with them before, but in the short time that we have worked with them, I have been very impressed.
Okay,
That's all I can, but CDB chose them.
good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Rick on this? So 3, 4, and 5, presentation at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still here. Next item is change orders for other projects. They are listed here. I'll go through them briefly. The one for the boiler house is a credit change order for $31,022. This was contingency for the boiler replacement. We did not need to use any contingency, so we're getting all of the contingency money back. So that is a credit to close out that particular project. The next item. Oh. Your order and my order are different. Okay, I found it. The next item is
Starlight.
what in the heck? Okay, the next item. I'll go to the next one. Okay, the next item is the security upgrades. I don't know, my sheet got messed up somehow, I apologize. This is the last item. Item 3 is again a credit. We used contingency, but we did not use all of it, so we're getting a credit back of $16,683 for that particular project. The next item is for fire alarm phase 1. If you recall, this was to upgrade all of the fire alarm panels, which were 30 years old. We are closing this one out. We did spend some money, looks like $800, and we're getting a credit back of $51,700 for that particular project also. And all of this money goes back into the capital fund into a space I don't know what Ellen does with.
There's communication for you.
She's told me. Yeah. The last one is for the HSC build-out, 3rd floor, and the elevator. You can see all the contingencies that I brought to you before. We do have a couple of new contingencies that have been listed. One is actually a correction. Change order 10 actually corrects a error in change order 9. And then we also had change order 11, which we had to rework some fire sprinkler systems once we got into the actual building of the elevator. We still have a sizable contingency allowance available for the project, and it is very nearing completion. It should be done very soon, I hope.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions on those projects?
Crystal,
Nope.
Isaiah, Gloria.
Good.
Bob, Kristen, John. You're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, solar workstation.
solar AI workstations, right?
I don't believe they're AI. They might be. I don't know. This is an update. We had been approached, or Dr. Spearman had been approached by ComEd regarding some solar workbenches. Originally, I believe it was actually for the downtown campus. When they found out that the downtown campus wouldn't be done until August of 2026, they said that that year's funding would already be spent, and they were wondering if we might want solar stations on our main campus. So we did have conversations with them. The items are a Campus XL workstation. They're fully engineered. You can see there to be a true off-the-grid solar-powered charging stations. This is going to allow students to go out and sit, plug in their laptops, plug in their phones, charge them while they're hanging out with their friends. This particular area is in an area of the college that I liked the best, and that is between WTC and the JCSM by the creek. There's a large grassy area. We've put 4 of them out there. It's a very nice space, and I think it'll get a lot of use as the weather improves. The college is very grateful to ComEd for initiating the conversation with Dr. Spearman, and I'd personally like to thank Brittany Freiberg and Jennifer Thompson for their work on, I basically turned this over to them. We were able to get them installed. There are pictures there of them. You can see them if you want to come on campus and see them. They're very nice. I do have to tell you that we actually need to purchase them for $1 based on ComEd's rules. So it's a donation of whatever minus $1. So.
Change out.
Right.
Any questions?
When's that purchase order? Is it coming next meeting?
I got to sign some paperwork first, and then we'll get a PO from them.
Can't we find a grant for that $1?
I think we'll be all right with the $1. Ellen should be able to find that.
Oh, I'm sure R1 would love us to pay $40,000 to get a $1 grant. So,
Very nice.
The next item.
Something else?
What?
How much does he need? I pulled out my
Are you going to pull out your $1? Yeah. I did that at a Winnebago County Board meeting, and they wouldn't take my money. It was a $397 tax abatement. They said, here, I'll pay it. Here you go. They wouldn't do it. Okay. All right. So here's the report.
The next item is the personnel reports. We do have one appointment of a chemistry instructor that you can see up there. That will be effective January 8th of 2026. That is a full-time chemistry position. We do have two departures, both in the biology area. 2 full-time faculty. One is leaving December 8th, and one is retiring May of 2027.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions?
Last item is the events calendar. So here's the events calendar for January. As you can tell, we are starting up with the new year. We did have a faculty development day, and I'm sure somebody will probably give you an update on that next at the board meeting. It went well. We also have Martin Luther King celebrations coming up, and basketball and other events are starting up, and you can see all the items there. Is there any questions regarding the events calendar?
Questions? No questions?
Good.
Thank you very much. Other business? Or unfinished business first?
Really, under unfinished business, just want to remind the trustees that you received the email regarding the state of the college information, the videos. I want to thank Vice President Snyder and Olson for helping to lead that out for Cabinet and creating those videos. If you could, please review the information this week and try to provide us with your answers no later than Monday, January 19th. Remember, we'll be off on that day, but if you can still submit no later than Monday, January 19th, when we come back in, we'll develop the FAQ around those, and we'll address, if we have any concerns, we'll address them during the board meeting in January under general presentation. after the architects present.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough?
Fair.
All right.
Not exciting, but fair. Thank you. Any new business then, sir?
No new business.
All right. So I realize it's unfair to those people who aren't in our closed sessions. We don't have an opportunity to remind them that our next regular Board of Trustees meeting is January 27th, and then the next Committee of the Whole is February 10th. But we now adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting per Section 2C1 and/or 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees and their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees per Section 2C2 and/or 3. Litigation has been filed and pending or probable per Section 2C11, all in accordance with the Illinois Opens Meeting Act. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
You just wrote it. You just did it.
I know, I'm just reading it out, but there you go.
Second, we need a second.
Second. Nelson and Trojan. Roll call.
Nelson.
Yes.
Okay, hang on. All right, Nelson,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Trojan, yes. Padilla,
Yes.
Blake,
Yes.
Soltow,
Yes.
Gorski.
Yes. Who needs to be here?
Vice President Jenks and Olson, right? Wait a minute. No, just Jenks, I believe.
And Matt.
Or Matt as well. But I don't think anybody else needs to be here at this time.
Thank you for your attendance and your patience in this nearly marathon meeting.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Mike's working, recording working? Okay. We're reconvening into open session. Not that we didn't talk about anything important, but we didn't make any final decisions or votes in session. So, the next regular board meeting of trustees, as I mentioned earlier, is January 27th, 2026, 5:15 p.m. And the meeting will be held here for Educational Resource Center. And the next committee, the whole meeting, will be February 10th, 2026 at 5:15. And it will be lightly attended because half the room will be off with us. So
The board retreat is?
the meeting will be held in PR, and the board is having a retreat Saturday, January 31st, from 8 until 9:30, if I had my way about it. No, it'd be about 8 to 9. And, well, it's kind of open to the public. You'll be really bored because it's just going over stuff that we talk about all the time. And get to know a little bit more about us, and I don't know if you want to do that.
Board retreat
Do I hear
starts
a
at
motion
9 or
to?
8?
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Kadia, seconded by Nelson. Roll call.
Nelson.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Trojan, yes. Kudia. Blake.
Yes.
Soltow.
Yes.
Gorski.
Thank you for your, yes, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you, everybody.
I was prepared, though. You've only been saying for 3 months. Happy New Year. A long meeting, so.
Pretty well, I think.
I knew it.
For what- all the